everyone, and welcome back to Alma Live. I'm Adriana Monique Alvarez, and we are continuing our conversations about emotional resilience. I am so excited to have Niko Ana with us today. Niko, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. So you are a spiritual wellness mentor, and I would love, first of all, for you to tell us where in the world you're joining us from today.
Oh, I'm actually in Southwest Florida in the United States.
Okay, nice. I love it. We have an interview tonight with someone in Australia, and I'm always amazed like how many different places people are showing up from. So very cool.
Yes.
So would you tell us in your own words who you are and the work that you do in the world?
Absolutely. Okay, thanks for asking. Just that, right? That's all I have to tell you.
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal. Yeah, so I actually, it's very simple, actually. The work that I do helps others learn how to change their brain, connect to their heart, and then transform their life. So it's nothing less than that. It's nothing less than transforming your life and just stepping into your highest potential. And that sounds like great. Yeah, that's great and all. However, many of us, including myself, have to go through a healing process, just heal from whatever trauma that we have had in our life, which most human beings have. I mean, if you don't have trauma, that's great. You know, that's awesome that it didn't happen to you, but that's the human experience most of the time. And so I think the beauty of it is that, you know, I've gone through my own healing from trauma in my life, and I've come out on the other side being able to share that with others, you know, and share my journey and be a mentor and show them the way, you know, show them this is how you can do this, and that I can help so many people because I've been there. Yes. So it's about transforming trauma into, you know, something beautiful. Like there's a book that I've read called Bits of Rubble into Gold. It's actually a Buddhist book written by like an American Buddhist. I can't remember the author, but I always remember that title, Bits of Rubble into Gold.
It's perfect. That's exactly what it is. And I love how you mentioned the brain and the heart.
Yes.
So I would love if you talk a bit about this, because what I found is it's oftentimes the brain is going in one direction and the heart is going in another. In fact, there was this short film that my kids had stumbled upon a couple of months ago, and it's this whole little cartoon scene, and throughout the whole little mini film, the man's head is telling him to go this direction and his heart is pulling him the other, and he's constantly torn. So how do you get your head and heart on the same page?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way I'll answer it is to first just explain, we'll talk about the brain. Okay, so we'll explain like how the brain works. And many people have probably heard this little buzzword going around called negativity bias, which is a way to explain how most of us, our brains are in a default program of survival all the time. And this is what's called negativity bias. So we've evolved from beings who were only concerned with survival, literally physical survival, not dying, just not dying, not getting eaten by the tiger, you know, not getting clubbed over the head by a tribesman or whatever. So even though we think we're so evolved, you know, we are emotionally evolved, our consciousness have evolved into a society that's more peaceful, we still operate from the amygdala most of the time if we're not doing the work to change that. The amygdala, the primal brain. So the primal brain keeps us in what's called a narrow focus, meaning we are constantly on the lookout for threats. That is how we survive. So we're looking for the negative. We're looking for the things that could kill us. But in this society, that's not just the tiger. In our modern society, that's many things. We can perceive threats that aren't necessarily truly threats, but our brain is perceiving threats everywhere. People, situations, you know, things that we don't think of as threats of dying, but our brain will perceive it as, if you start to feel stressed about something, your amygdala is like, oh, we're going to die. And it goes straight into that brainwave pattern, which is high beta. High beta is that brainwave pattern. So then what it causes us to do is it causes us to get extremely focused on, okay, we got to fix this, we got to survive, we got to do something, and we get stuck in a loop. And then our physiology goes into fight or flight or freeze, and we get stuck there. It's like a feedback loop. So if you notice in nature, you know how animals get stressed, maybe because they're prey, but as soon as the threat's over, they shake it off, literally like they shake, right? You've seen animals do that, I'm sure everyone has. And what happens to them is their physiology actually goes back to parasympathetic, normal homeostasis pretty quick. So this fight or flight or freeze was meant to keep us safe, but it was never meant to be continually maintained as a chemistry. And so as human beings, we have this way of continually maintaining it through our thoughts. So it's kind of like, they call it like the evolutionary, like kind of, I try to think of the word they use, but it's like a defect, like a genetic flaw, that this thing that's keeping us alive is actually now causing us harm, because we stay in this constant state of threat, and it keeps our bodies in a space that is not healthy. You know, we stay stressed all the time. So the negativity bias, right? That's the negativity bias. So what we have to do as people who want to evolve and change, and we want to move from survival into thriving, into feeling safe, and using the prefrontal cortex where we can access all the things that are connected to problem solving and joy and connectedness and, you know, positivity and all those things that are wonderful, right? Then we have to change our brain. We have to literally change our neurology. Now, I know that sounds like, whoa, how do you do that? But it's actually easier than you think. It truly is. So as far as the heart, then I'll jump in with the heart. So what some people don't know about the heart is so amazing is that there's something called heart coherence. And there's a field of energy around the heart, right? Everyone knows that. And also around the brain. So we've got those fields. And we used to think, science used to believe that the brain regulated the heart. But they now know through scientific research that there is actually neurological tissue inside the heart itself. And it's the heart that regulates the brain. So if you're interested, go check out the Heart Math Institute and all their research. They have this beautiful technique called heart coherence. And it's so simple and easy to do, but it's a technique that what happens is you literally can regulate your heart rate and the energy field around your heart, create a coherence there with your thoughts and feelings that then becomes coherent with the brain, and then you synchronize the brain and the heart, and you go into the kind of brainwave pattern that's calm, either low beta or alpha. So
I love this. What was the name of that website again? Will you say it one more time?
Heart Math. Just spelled like it sounds, Heart Math Institute.
Heart Math Institute. Awesome. Now, this is perfect because you have this background. You know what's happening in the body. So when we think of emotional resilience and how we define that, what's your personal definition? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I have to admit that it's changed over time. But at this point, after all the work I've done, I really owe it to the emotional freedom technique that helped me understand emotional resilience, EFT or tapping. Because the premise behind it is that our emotions are something that just move through us, and that when emotions get stuck in our energy field, we don't process them for whatever reason, it causes imbalances, disease, stress, pain, all those things. So when I think about emotional resilience, I think of that if we can understand that emotions aren't who we are, that they just move through us, that it's safe to allow emotions to move through us. And when we do that, then we do become resilient, because what the opposite of resilience is, I don't know, what's like a word that's like the opposite of resilience? I'm trying to think.
Question. So I think of resilience as almost like a strength or a like a buoyancy, you know.
Yes. So yeah. That actually is a really good way to describe it, because I tell people a lot when I'm working with them that the point isn't that you're never going to feel stressed, or that you're never going to have conflict or problems come up in your life, but it's your ability to bounce back quickly. I like that phrase, to bounce back quickly and not let it take you down. That, not let the emotions become so overwhelming that they're driving your behavior and your mood, and that you feel like you have no control, that you can't choose something else. And to me, that's emotional resilience, is knowing how to regulate that.
And I love how you say emotions are not who we are. Like, they don't define, they're continuously moving through us. They're part of the experience, but they're not who we are. And that makes sense.
Yeah. It's just, I think that people tend to think of emotions as these things that can take them over. And they literally become them. Like, people's like our language, you say, I am mad. I am mad. I mean, you're saying you are that. Yeah. Now, there's other languages like Spanish, right? Like in Spanish, you don't use the to be verb when you describe an emotion. You say you have it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting how language can sort of reflect that we think we are that when it overcomes us. And we don't want to be that. Like, you don't want to be that truly. So of course you're going to avoid it. You're going to push it away. You're going to push it down. You're going to put a lid on it. You're going to think, oh, if I just keep it down, it won't hurt me. But that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
There it is, more than ever, right?
It'll find a way.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to find a way out. Now, is there a personal experience that you have had where you really had to access this ability to learn the difference between being the emotion and experiencing it, and also bouncing back or finding your own buoyancy in life?
Yes. There's a lot of experiences. I'm trying to think of a way to really encapsulate it, but I think the best way to describe it is just that, I can say that overall, I had a very traumatic childhood and young adult life. And the truth is that I didn't even realize it until recently, is that I was truly in an abusive situation and didn't even know it. And I was just operating. It's amazing how the brain can really just keep us functioning and keep us in a space where we think things are normal and healthy when they're really not, because otherwise we would go down. So what happened for me is, I was involved in the healing arts for years. I mean, very young age, I got into massage therapy. It was like my first career, and then energy work, and then opened my own massage schools and got into healing arts, and was always a teacher, and always sharing. And I was in that world. But the truth is, it was a good thing I was there. But the truth is, I wasn't really addressing my trauma at the root. Mm-hmm. I was making some progress, but I wasn't really able to change any pattern in my life that was in place because of my neurology that was formed as a child, that was formed because of trauma. So at some point I was able to, and it was only just a few years ago, because I think I just got to a point where I knew that I needed to make changes. I was overcome with a severe panic disorder, and it started showing up in my early 40s. I was having panic attacks. I thought I was dying. Anyone that's had those know what they feel like. If they are not fine in the middle of the night, daytime, they could just hit me anytime. And so I went to doctors. They put me on drugs. That was horrible. I thought that was actually worse than the panic attacks themselves. So I stopped taking them. I did yoga, meditation. I mean, everything I could think of. And although it helped a little, it never really truly healed. I was still constantly worried they were going to come back. They would still happen. So it wasn't until I came across EFT tapping, completely by, I don't know, it was like divine intervention. Somehow I got on a list, and so I opened my inbox, and there's Nick Ortner from the Tapping Solution in my inbox. Hey, you know, tapping, something about, I'm like, what is this? I've heard of this. So I watched this video, and I'm tapping with Nick Ortner about finances or something, right? And I just burst into tears. I'm like, whoa, you know, obviously from my background, I know I'm having an emotional release. And after that, I was hooked. I was like, I bought the course. I bought the course, and I started learning everything I could learn about emotional freedom technique. I tapped like every day, all day. I was already a life coach, but I started using it with my clients. I went and I got certified. So because I was able to access this technique and this tool that does actually change your neurology, I was never able to do that before. I started to understand how trauma is resolved. And it's not through thinking your way out of it. It's not through talking about it. Honestly, you can talk about it all day long. It can actually strengthen those neural pathways and make it worse if you talk about it too much. So when I was able to go in and use tapping to interrupt the pattern and change the neurology and release the emotional triggers around the trauma, I was finally able to change my brain enough to where I could start thinking straight. You know, I was able to, I'm like, whoa, what is this way of being that's free of constant anxiety and panic? You know, and it was very different because I had never felt it before. So because of my experience with that, then I was able to learn how to teach others to do it. So am I answering right? Yeah. I'm like, we're way off the track here of the question you asked me.
This is absolutely perfect. Wherever we meander is exactly where we're meant to be.
Great.
And I love this. I was, you know, we were talking about this before we went live, that I first heard about EFT when I had arrived in the US from Kenya. I had malaria. I was experiencing severe reverse culture shock, and literally was in line at a coffee shop, and the two women in front of me started talking about tapping and how much it was helping them. And I thought, I've got to do some research into this. And it's a similar thing. It's like it was divine intervention, because EFT has helped me through so many things now. And I like what you said. It's not trying to talk our way out of it. It's not us trying to you know, I find that many methods we're trying to go around it, over it, under it, you know.
Just push through, right?
Push through
that does not work.
Ignore it, right? Strong arm it, white knuckle it. You know, those are things that we often praise in our society. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if somebody is experiencing something like you did, what would you say is a good first step for them?
The first step is actually to just work to soothe the nervous system. This is I love that you asked this question, because I run a really big Facebook group called EFT Tapping Community, and people are always asking, I mean, tons of questions. I know like what people are thinking out there because of being in this group. They get in there and they're real excited. Okay, I've got this issue and I want to start tapping on it. And then they get stuck, and their mind is like, yeah, but what if you don't do it right? What if you don't say the right words? What if you don't know how? What if it comes back? You know, and the mind will try to stop you and think you have to figure it out first. You got to know how to do it right before you do it. And this is what I tell people: stop overthinking it. Just tap, like literally, because some people, I've noticed they can't necessarily just go right into meditating. Okay, I could not have meditated. There is no way I could have sat still long enough to meditate before I started doing tapping to calm my nervous system. So I tell people, don't try to do something that's hard, that you know you can't do, but just start tapping to soothe your nervous system, and don't try and figure out your trauma. Just start tapping on feeling calmer. So like doing a real basic tapping on anxiety, just how you're feeling, like, even though I feel, you know, anxious right now, and then just tapping this anxiousness. And for those of you that don't know tapping, you can watch videos and learn how to tap really easily. But just do something simple and easy to interrupt the pattern in your nervous system that is causing you to panic right now. Don't wait. Don't try to figure it out.
Yeah, and I love that, because it's like, well, I will go through 2 years and learn this, and then I can feel better. It's, yeah. Just
That's a mindset, though.
Yes.
And isn't that just the ego trying to delay joy?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I find that this is one of the most frequent things that I work with my clients about. It's like, well, I'm not allowed to celebrate this because I'm not like at the top of the highest pinnacle of whatever that success or goal is, right? Or I can't call myself an expert because I haven't done it for 50 years, or I can't, right? I can't right now. There's a reason why we can't celebrate, experience joy, be who we are right now. And I love what you say. It's like, yeah, actually you can.
Really, it's not that hard. But that's an old paradigm that has been in our culture for a long time. It's crumbling now.
Yes.
Because it doesn't work anymore. You know, and there's always a payoff for staying where you are, right? Like the reason why people are delaying joy and they're delaying success and delaying celebrating is because there is a chemistry that you're addicted to. Me, all of us, that we're addicted to, and we don't want to change. We don't want to feel something else. We want to feel the feelings of not moving forward, however that is for you, whatever hit that gives you. You know, that's what we're addicted to. And again, unless you change your neurology and your chemistry, that you're going to stay stuck in that. In fact, I just read something the other day. It was some researcher did some research about peptide addiction. So the peptides in our body that are like our regular chemistry that we create, the brain creates it, are more addictive than heroin. They did some research on rats, and they were feeding rats like peptides, and they realized that the rats would literally like not eat and not drink and not do anything, they needed to just stay alive just to get the peptides. So we don't realize how addictive our own neurochemistry can be. So if we're in a neurochemistry of feeling like a victim, or feeling unworthy, or feeling, you know, undervalued, it sounds crazy, okay? I'm not saying people consciously want to stay there, but it is like being addicted to heroin. Like, you might think you want to change, but as soon as you start to do something where you're feeling something different, your body is like, oh no, we have got to keep this chemistry at this baseline. And it will create a behavior or create something through your subconscious mind that will then get that result, whether it's sabotage, going back into a toxic relationship, overeating again, make yourself feel guilt. Guilt's the big one. Guilt is like the huge one, right?
The big one.
Guilt is like the best hit for that peptide addiction. It's like your drink of choice.
Exactly. It's so true, because I have seen, like you said, I've seen it with myself. I've seen it with clients. It's like the minute you start to go in a new direction, you'll create an environment, you'll create a conversation, you'll create an experience, you'll create something that brings back the old. Like, oh my God, just give me anything to experience that again, right?
Yes. And it's so frustrating too.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, why is this happening to me? You know, and your logical mind is like, this doesn't make sense. But we were talking about the difference, like the brain and the heart and the body. That's the pull, is that the mind is like, this doesn't make sense. And the body's like, we don't know anything about sense. You know, logic Logic does not exist in here. It's just all feeling and chemistry. So that heart-brain coherence that we talk about actually is a way to align so that you can stop thinking with your body. Because the body takes over the mind, and then you're literally like thinking through your body's chemistry and the way it wants to feel. And that's what doesn't feel good. That's where we get stuck. So
amazing. Now, I would love if you'd share how people can work with you, because I can imagine, like you said, most people have experienced some sort of trauma in their life. And right now, many people are going through difficulties because what's happening in the world has them in a high state of stress. This isn't like burst. This is an ongoing state. So how can people work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to tell you that, because actually I just launched a new program, a membership program at a company called Buddhaversity. So I have a colleague. He and I work together, and he's also an EFT practitioner and energy psychology. And we have a membership that we just launched called Love, Connect, Thrive. So, and the intention behind Love, Connect, Thrive is actually like what we were just talking about. It's like, learning to connect with your heart and forgiving and releasing trauma and all that crap, right? All that guilt and shame. And then truly moving into thriving, like changing your neurology so it can support thriving instead of being in survival all the time. So the membership is really cool. So what it is it's every week we show up live, and we do a live group session where we do group meditation and group tapping. And it's every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then we archive all those sessions in the membership site, so people can watch like all the back archived sessions, or they can show up live. It's up to them. So that's how you can work with me, is you can join the membership, and then you can hop on and get live coaching from me and from my business partner at Buddhaversity.
I love it. What a timely offer.
Yeah.
And I want to leave everyone with some words that you had given me that I think is just so perfect. A beautiful way for us to conclude this is, may all beings be at ease and know joy. Thank you so much, Niko, for being here with me today, and for the words, the gifts, the experience, the wisdom that you have brought to us.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I want to remind our listeners that you can pick up a free pass to Networking Influencers, my weekly networking group, as well as my free guide, Jumpstart Your Book. Those links are in the description. Until next time, big hugs from Mexico. Stay well. I'll talk to you soon.